Welcome back to Ask Uncle Lee, and we are going to be covering 3 more questions today, but as always, if you have questions that you would like me to add to this particular segment, then leave them in comments below, to one of these Ask Lee videos anyway, and I will add it to the list. Okay, let's get going. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Okay, so first question. Just going to have to move myself over again. Let me do that quickly. Right. I think I've got the right question up here. Let me just check over here. We'll be with you in a minute. Yes, this is good 3344. I think there's actually 3 questions that came consecutively, one after the other. So I'm going to cover all of this person's questions today. Alright, so this first one. I go to school at Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I think that's Massachusetts, sorry. I don't do the shortening of the states and things, so I may have got that wrong. Anyway, here in the US. How may I engage with the spirits here, especially those that are either local elementals or lost spirits, i.e. ghosts? Alright, so get out in nature, try and find some local parks if there's no forests around. I don't know what the area's like, but try and find some natural places, some places with trees and plants and flowers and things like that. It's probably going to be the easiest to start with. You can just, go into a garden where people. The problem is when there's lots of people walking around, it's a bit more difficult to kind of make this contact and create these bonds because of the interference and because of the activity that's going on all the time. The spirits usually kind of don't want to come out. So try and find a place which is a bit more secluded, a bit quieter. Hopefully, if you've got a forest around, fantastic, brilliant. Otherwise, try and find a park or something like that and start connecting. Just call out to the spirits. Take offerings with you. That's going to be the real big thing, is take offerings with you, and that can be milk, honey, things like that. You can, if you want to connect with the actual trees to begin with, because the trees will help you to get in contact with the actual spirits of the area. Take some water, take some fertilizer, some compost or something like that. Which is good for the trees and the plants. So anything that the trees and the plants can feed from, that's going to be a good offering. So that's kind of where I would start, is find a place that has some natural trees and plants around, a park or a forest or something like that, and take some offerings for the trees, for the network. If you think of the trees, and this isn't even getting into the mycelium network of the mushrooms and things like that. This is just the trees. So if you consider a tree, just a single tree, and then think about the roots that are going into the ground and the extent, the immensity of those roots, then a few meters away you've got another tree, and those roots are going into the ground, and then between that you've got plants, grasses, flowers, bushes, other small shrubs and things like that. So you've got all these plants. That's just between two trees. You have this entire network of roots which are all intertwining, all connecting, all talking to each other. Okay, so if you, what I would do is go into, find this place, this park or forest, whatever. Feel around for the tree which kind of feels like the boss almost, the big tree, and go and make offerings to that tree. Get to know it, talk to it, go there once a week, or if you can, once a day, just sit there for 5 or 10 minutes every day or something like that. But build a relationship, get to know it, and then what that's going to do is that's going to cause almost like a chain reaction. So that tree is going to communicate with all of the other trees, plants, shrubs, flowers, and everything else, and also animals that are in the ground and therefore walking above the ground. So, you're going to start connecting with all of these living things. And then from there, obviously, what's connected to those? The elementals, the nature spirits, the spirits of the land, the spirits of the area. And then you can start to reach out to them through this network of trees and plants and shrubs and animals and everything else. You can start reaching out to them and take them offerings as well. So offerings for the actual spirits of place may be milk, honey, oats, breads, things like that. And if you have built a relationship with a particular tree in that area, which is creating this whole network, you can keep going to that main tree and use that as kind of like the conduit, I've forgotten the term, point of contact for all of these other entities, living and seen and unseen. So yeah, that would be my suggestion anyway. All right, so let's go on to your next question. Okay, and this one is, what is it like working with Papa Legba? Are there any negative interactions you've had spiritually? I don't work with Papa Legba very much anymore. He did pop up several years back when I was exploring a particular path. He kind of just came in, made himself known to me, and I found him to be absolutely incredible, amazing. I absolutely adore Papa Legba. But it's, he is a crossroads spirit. He is a gate opener, a key keeper, the one that opens the doors. So you kind of, in ritual practice, if you are, if you're going to be calling on Papa Legba, you should be working with the lower, and therefore you should be actually connected with that particular tradition. Just bear in mind, crossing lines here, cultural appropriation, all of that stuff. So, get everything straight first. Make sure you're giving back to that community. Make sure you're not stripping from the community itself, and you have been accepted by the community, by those spirits, etc., 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 etc. Keep those things in mind, obviously. But there are a variety of other spirits that you can go to. Mine now is Hecate. She is a gatekeeper, a key holder, an opener of the ways. So she is who I go to for that particular aspect. So I don't work with Papa Legba very much anymore. So there was just a period of time in my life where he came up and I was working with him because he just came. There is a lovely story I do like to tell. When there was one night, my daughter was still a teenager at the time, because this was a long time ago. She's 26 now, so she must have been about, I think she was about 14 at the time. I was doing some work and I was calling Papa Legba so that I could continue the work to Papa Legba to open the way, open the door, etc., etc. And my daughter was in her room, and he came walking through the house, and he stopped at my daughter's door and looked in at her. Didn't say anything, just looked in, almost like just checking she was okay. And then he carried on. He just carried on walking through to where I was. And he's an interesting character. Loves children. If you do have a look at some particular offerings and things you can think of giving him, it's usually sweets and candy and like small toys and things like that, because he does sort of what, in my experience anyway, he loves children. He's kind of like the old grandpa, really. And I've always loved him. Don't work with him much anymore, but still love him to bits. Your other part of that question, are there any negative interactions you've had spiritually? Apart from astral entities and astral parasites, and just nasty people, no, not really. Particularly with Papa Legba, definitely not, absolutely not. This is, however, a question that does come up quite often because I work with demonic forces. I get a lot of people ask me about the negative things that have happened while I've been working with the demonic forces. I haven't had any, and it's probably two reasons, probably. One, because I treat them with respect, and therefore I get treated with respect. And secondly, I kind of started out something like 30 years ago with a very gentle neo-Wicca type of practice. But through the years, I learned very slowly how to interact with particular spirits. I didn't throw myself into interacting with gods and goddesses that were kind of a bit more severe. And I think this is what people think about when they're talking about the demonic forces, these severe entities, and they're definitely not all of them. I mean, some of them are. I have had experiences where I've been, kind of emotionally, mentally thrown from pillar to post because I needed it, because I wanted it. I asked for it. I needed a huge major shift in my life because I was just going down the wrong avenue, and my entire life got ripped to shreds. But it's because I needed it and because I asked for it. And I wouldn't therefore call that a negative experience at all. I think the whole thing is, if you treat the spirits with respect, they're going to treat you with respect. And this is where, coming back to, I think it was last week, I was talking about the black magic grimoires. The Solomonic approach is the trap, bind, threaten, burn, and all this stuff. Hold the demonic spirit in the trap and threaten it. And if you're going to do that, as soon as that spirit gets out, it's going to just retaliate. And this is why people who report all these bad things happening with the spirits, it's because they're treating them so badly. What do they expect? So if you come with respect, you're going to get respect. Really as simple as that. But at the same time, bear in mind that like some people are nice and other people are not so nice. Some people are quite abrasive. It doesn't mean that they're not nice people. They just come across as kind of abrasive and kind of in your face type of thing. It's just their nature. The same with spirits, the same with the demonic forces. You're going to get some which are a lot more gentle. You're going to get some which are kind of you just consider them to be arseholes because they're in your face and they're pushing you around and saying, you must do it this way, you must do it that way. But they're only doing it because you asked them to improve your life, to help improve your life, and they're kind of pushing you in particular directions. And sometimes that is not gentle, it is not nice. But if you've asked for it and it's necessary, that's what's going to happen. Really as simple as that. Okay, let's get on to the third and final question of yours. And that is this one. What is your opinion on classic and more contemporary authors like Agrippa, Hall, Miller, Skinner, Leach, etc.? I think they're absolutely necessary. I think you should definitely be reading them. Especially Agrippa and Eliphas Levi and Francis Barrett, Franz Barden. Definitely read those works. Those are all kind of the older works, and Crowley and Dion Fortune. I wouldn't really say Blavatsky. Blavatsky later on. Read Blavatsky later on because there's a lot of racism and stuff in there that's, don't agree with a lot of Blavatsky stuff. But anyway, read all of those and then Coming to Manly P. Hall, I assume that's the Hall you're talking about. Stephen Skinner, Orrin Leach. I'm assuming the Miller here is Jason Miller. But yeah, they're all, Manly P. Hall is a bit older as well. The very much Freemasonry applications. But Miller, Skinner, and Leach, absolutely brilliant. Orrin Leach is one of the people I actually kind of taught me very early on to respect the demonic forces. Working with the Goetia, it wasn't really a case of using the Solomonic method. It's kind of where I started. I was kind of doing this Solomonic approach, but it didn't feel right because, I was calling on these names of God and the archangels and all this stuff and names of power and whatnot, and felt very Christian and didn't feel right. But this was also before I kind of got into Kabbalah, specifically practical Kabbalah. So I didn't have a very good understanding of that, a very good grasp of all that stuff, and I'd come from a Christian background. So it really didn't feel right at all. And then all of a sudden I've got to start forcing these entities that are thousands of years older than me and far more powerful than I thought I was, trying to force and trap them and bind them and threaten them. I tried doing it. It didn't work because I couldn't do it. I couldn't allow myself to do it. And then people like Leach, Orrin Leach, specifically in reference to his work talking about creation of spirit boxes, which Rufus Opus then goes on to talk about in his book, creating the spirit box. And it's still a method I use now. I use boxes to give offerings to the spirits and work with them in that fashion, which kind of ties in with the whole the African fetish, which I kind of brushed upon in the Puppet Magic video this month. So yeah, you've got this thing which creates a connection with the spirit, with the daemon, and then you work with that, with the energy directly, and you give it offerings, you make prayers. We now have modern demonology where you can, these ends have appeared, and you have sigils from the Dukant hierarchy, which are, I think, a lot better than what we find in the Goetia and things like that. But at the same time, if you go into the older versions of the grimoires, the sigils and the seals that are drawn are a lot rougher than what is printed in like Mather's and Crowley's versions of the Goetia. And they feel raw, they feel more potent, more powerful, more connected than these very pretty drawn seals and sigils. So, you even go back into that and start looking at the original way these seals were actually drawn and draw them that way. And, you start to connect with the energy a lot better. But anyway, I'm starting to go off topic here. What do I think of the authors? Absolutely amazing. Fantastic. Definitely go and pull them out. And Jake Stratton Kent's another one to add to that. There was somebody else I was reading recently. Definitely William G. Gray. From a ceremonial magic perspective as well. I'm trying to think. There was another one that came up recently, and I can't remember the name now. David Rankin's quite good. If you actually go to Hadean Press, they have some fantastic works coming out, and they've got a whole series of pamphlets, which I want to start writing myself. But they've got a whole load of pamphlets, and they're cheap. They're like you can get a print version of £3 or something like that, and you can get the ebook version for £1.50. So they're just short little books, like 30 pages, but they're very specific about a particular topic. They get very specific about the topic. So they're fantastic works. I'm loving them. And Jake Stratton Kent's in there, David Rankin's in there, such people. So go and have a look at that as well, because great work's coming out of there. And yeah, I think that's it for this one anyway. Okay, so let me do that. Let me push myself. Whoops, went a bit farther. Wait, hang on. Got hands in the way and everything else. Let me just do that. That was a fuck up, wasn't it? Okay, I think I'm back in place now. Yeah, so that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Remember to drop your questions into the comments area. Okay, cheers for now. Bye bye.